Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Real Fit Pros. It's your boy, Jonathan Loudermilk, and I've got my PIC, my partner in crime, Mark, the Fitness Ninja Zalmanoff, with a special guest that Mark's going to go ahead and introduce for us.
Oh, yeah. But before we get started, please make sure go to the iTunes, the Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. Do the subscribe, leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. Screenshot it, share it on the social medias, Fit Pro Bros on Instagram, and wherever you want on Facebook. I don't really care. There's so many of us. Just share it so other people can find it. That's what we want. That's why we do these things, to add value for you guys. So today, yes, we have a special guest in the house, and this guy is one of our Apex brothers, and John and I talk about the Apex program a little bit here and there, but it's one of the most amazing networks of people that I've ever been involved. Well, actually, it is the most amazing network of people I've ever been involved with, and it allows us to have quality people in our lives, like our guest today. So this man, his passion in life is pushing boundaries and encouraging those around him to live life to the fullest. He grew up in Illinois, playing just about every sport possible, although football was his passion. Good man. Following his collegiate football career, he enlisted in the U.S. Army, where he served as part of the 75th Ranger Regiment, which we will absolutely be talking about that. In 2011, him and his wife, Kirsten, opened Canon Fitness and Performance, and they're also actively involved in real estate investing, which is how people get wealthy, by the way, in case you didn't know that. That becomes more apparent the more people I'm around. He lives in Houston with his wife, his 4 kids, which is a choice. We'll talk about that. So, Jim Gaffigan says, if you want to know what it's like to have 5 kids, imagine you're drowning and someone throws you a baby. Anyway, so without further ado, welcome to the show, Jeff Smith. How you doing today, sir?
Thanks, Mark. I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys?
Doing great, man. Doing fantastic. Awesome to have you here.
Well, I appreciate y'all asking me to come on.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you have been briefed, we always start these shows off with a story. So what do you have for us today?
Yeah, this one caught me off guard because I was briefed about 120 seconds ago. So funny fitness story, I guess. Like, one thing about me that you probably wouldn't assume is that I have always preferred to work out alone. It's just kind of like my quiet time and headspace. And so I generally get really tunnel vision and singularly focused when I'm exercising. And so, like, that's why I don't like my kids around. I don't like any distractions and noises. Like, I'll be in, we've got a 6,000 square foot gym, and I'll be in there with the lights off and no music playing, and I'll work out alone. So like people think I'm I'm strange that way, because I grew up playing team sports, like you mentioned, and things like that. And I enjoy working out in that setting to an extent, but really I find a lot of peace being alone. Anyway, well, here's the actual story. So about 10 years ago, we were doing Murph, which most people that have ever done any hero wads or CrossFit workouts or anything, we usually do that once a year at least. And so I was doing that, and I had scheduled it with a couple of my buddies who are business owners as well. And like 3 of us did it at like 3:00 in the afternoon. And word got out that we were doing it. So a bunch of people came up to drink beer and watch us hang out, just hang out and watch us suffer. And so my wife came up there, and I was wearing AirPods, because this workout's like an hour long, and you can kind of just get in your head and compartmentalize and do your thing. Anyway, and I was not in that kind of shape to be doing Murph, because it's an extended workout, lots of running, everything else. And I like lifting heavy and being explosive. That is a long, drawn out workout. So needless to say, it's not my forte. So my wife's yelling at me to go and like cheer me on. And that's just not my style at all. So she's screaming, "Go, Jeff." and and I'm just sitting there sucking. Like I'm like 33 minutes into this and just like miserable. And I've got lactic acid building up and just feeling like shit. And finally she yells something at me, and there's other people drinking beer, having fun, right? And so I look up at her at one point and I said, will you shut the fuck up? I can't fucking hear you, because I've got my AirPods in. And everybody was like, it was like Screech the Record moment. And everybody's like, whoa. And then I went and did like 5 more reps. And then I came back over and I was like, I'm really sorry, honey. I shouldn't have spoken like that. Please don't yell at me anymore. This was in front of like these other people, and I'm like raging, and lost my composure. So they still joke about that to this day. Like, will you shut the fuck up? I can't hear you. So like that's the line, because I can't stand like that kind of motivation.
I see a meme and a shirt in the future for Mr. Smith here.
It's like, not now, Chief. I'm in the fucking zone.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, I was deep in the pain cave, and I did not want to be talked to at all.
Oh man, I love that. I'm gonna share this with my wife for sure. She's like, I've never said anything to you like that, so come on now. Awesome. All right, so that's a great story, man. We really appreciate that one. Thanks for sharing. So here's where I want to start. Let's start with your Army background, because I have a feeling that has shaped pretty much the rest of your existence past that. So let's talk a little bit about that journey, how that even began, what, when the thought came into your head of I'm gonna represent our country, I'm gonna join the Army, and how that whole thing evolved.
Okay. We've got a lot of family history of military. And so it had always been something I was aware of. I mean, it just, like, my parents weren't in the military. I mean, my dad served in the Army during like Vietnam era. But that really, I wouldn't say it was a huge catalyst per se, but it was always something on my radar and on my mind. And like, so ironically enough, when I was in high school, I was always athletic. I looked at these other things. So I looked into the military, and I was like, what would I do if I was in the military? And I wanted to be in special operations in some capacity. So I started digging in a little bit, and I didn't want to be a Navy SEAL, because everybody wants to be a Navy SEAL. And plus I don't like all the swimming. And I was like, I'm not really into the water, because I'm into like the thing that's attractive to me is like combat and things like that. And so whatever. Then there's special forces, which is a different branch of the special operations community, but they're into nation building and training other international armies. Okay, so you learn about an area of the world, and then that's your specialized area. So they would like go train the Iraqi army or something like that. Not appealing to me either, because I'm like, well, I don't need to go teach people from other countries how to war. Like, if you want to go to war, like, that's what you want to do. So anyway, I'm about 16 years old, and I find out about the Ranger Regiment. Okay, so this is another branch of the special operations community, and they seem to check all the boxes, because that was like everything. It was ground warfare, and it was just very appealing. It didn't have any of the other nuances that the other branches of the service have. And so fast forward a few years, I had the ability to go play college football, and I was like, well, I'm 18 years old. I should probably, like, do I go to the military or do I go play college football? This is probably my window to go play college football, right? At the time, I thought that, because we weren't doing what we were doing now, like where people are coming back from the military at 30 years old and then going to play college football. Like, that was unheard of back then. So I went to college, did my thing, played a couple of years, and then got injured and ended up having surgery on my ankle. Didn't really have a huge passion for playing football anymore. And so I ended up just getting a job in financial services, continuing to kind of dabble in college. And then 9/11 happened. And 9/11 was really the catalyst for me enlisting in the military. I enlisted immediately after 9/11. And then the rest is kind of history. That was the tipping point for me, though. And I enlisted immediately after that. At the time, I was working for a Fortune 500 company. I was actually the first employee ever to come out of that company and enlist full time after the global war on terrorism. And so that's a different story, but there was a lot of interesting HR nuances that they were unprepared for as we enlisted in the military, because I actually enlisted full time. I wasn't like National Guard or reserves. And so it actually worked out to my benefit that they didn't have all their ducks in the row, because I ended up returning to that job after I got out of the military too. So that's a different story that we don't need to pivot to right now.
Well, first of all, tip of the hat to you, sir. Thank you for your service. And I've heard several people lately with that same statement of, then 9/11 happened, and so I just went. And that, it's a different mindset, it's a different mentality, and the sense of duty that you guys have is to me, it's very, very admirable. So like I said, I respect that decision, and it's, people aren't going to understand it. Simple as that. So, to have that passion inside of you is like, well, it's time to go. Here's what we got to do. I mean, it just blows me away. So I just want to say thank you, because I greatly appreciate that.
Awesome, man. You're welcome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So how long were you in, and then what happened when you came out?
Okay, so I went in 2000, just after 2002, and I was in for approximately 2.5 years. And then I got injured and had a lower leg injury, broke some bones, tore a bunch of ligaments in a training accident after we had gotten back from Iraq. And kind of the situation in 2004 had evolved to where we were deploying very frequently. So our readiness force was stood up all the time. And so we had low numbers of people. And I was slated to be on kind of in surgery and rehabbing for almost a year. And so then I was given an ultimatum, if you will. So I was given this list of choices at that point, because so I got injured, and then we shot my leg with cortisone to keep me working and deployable. And then there was a certain point in time when we had come back into the rear and were kind of down for training, and we had a window of opportunity to fix my leg. And at that point in time, it was like they needed full fire teams stood up because of the level of readiness force that we were. And so I had the opportunity to go get surgery, stay in the military, and then I could stay in my unit, but I would be assigned a desk job. And so like that's like head armor or something like that. You just push papers. And so that was option one: stay in Ranger Regiment, take a desk job in Ranger Regiment. Option two was go get surgery, rehab, and go to a regular Army unit. Or option three was get medically boarded out of the military altogether. Okay. So there's nothing worse. Well, I'm sure there's worse things, but you don't want to be in a highly deployable special operations unit and be on desk duty. Like that's not what, like you want to be in the fire teams, because it's just a shitty existence knowing that like all of your friends are training and going to do things, and you have to sit back here and do paperwork. So that wasn't really a desirable option. I never wanted to go to the regular Army because I had come in with the mission to be in Ranger Regiment. And so like that was my sole focus coming in, because when I came in, you have to go to basic training, you have to go to advanced infantry school, then you have to go to airborne school, then you have to volunteer for Ranger indoctrination program. So like none of this is guaranteed. You've got to pass all these steps throughout, and you can wash out anytime and you end up in the regular Army if you do. And so having come through and done what I was focused on doing, I really didn't have a desire to go to the regular Army. Nothing against the regular Army, it's great. And but I just didn't have any desire to continue my career in a different unit. And so there was also this pull that, hey, you have a job waiting for you at home. If you want to return to it, it's a solid job. You're 24, 25 years old at this point. And so needless to say, I took the out and said, I'll just take the med board and go home, and I'll rehab at home, use civilian doctors, and take care of my stuff back there. And so that was when I exited the military at that point.
Got it. So what would you say are a couple of lessons that you like truly extracted from your military experience that have helped short-term, long-term, just life skills in general, really anything that's helped make you a better human in the long run?
Well, being surrounded by the level of human beings that I was, that really taught me a lot of lessons. I mean, it's funny, I could name on my hand, name drop people who run like big businesses now, like highly successful entrepreneurs that you would know. And like the people that I served with were like leaders amongst leaders. And it was just a different tier of people to be around. So the lessons that I learned were that, I mean, what leadership looks like, what sacrifice looks like, and really just the quality of human beings that I was able to be associated with was incredible. Also, I think one of the most interesting lessons of getting to Ranger Battalion is that everyone thinks it's a struggle to get there, because like when we went through Ranger indoctrination training, I think we started with 81 people, and then I think we finished with 8. So everybody thinks the attrition rate is where the pain is, but the real pain is operating every day once you're actually in the unit. Like that's far harder than the ascension to get there, which is really relatable in like what we do.
Yep.
As being it's the mundane daily sharpening of your sword that people don't understand. And if you can do that for 20 years, that's where success is bred. And like it's the same thing in special operations. It's like everybody's young, dumb, and happy to get there as they kind of ascend through the ranks, and they're like, fuck yeah, I finished another school. Fuck yeah, I got past that. Airborne's done. Ranger indoctrination's done. I'm going to my unit. And once you realize that once you get there, you're back at square one, you're the lowest man on the totem pole, and to continue your career is that's where the pain comes in, right? And so that's very relatable in what we do. And like, because everybody gets so excited in fucking business, like, oh, I got my first LLC. Look at that. Like you see that all the time. Like I've got a business. I signed up on CorpNet and gave them $500 and they gave me a name and a website. And like, no, that's not what it's about. Like trudging through the next 10 years is what it's going to be about. Right.
Well, there's the clip right there.
Right. For sure. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because we, John and I coach fitness coaches, and we talk about the daily disciplines and just doing the work. There's no substitute for doing the damn work, the posting on the social media and the getting your systems in check and following up and following up and following up and following up. And that's how we grow a business. And, you know, we're going to get into that in a second about your fitness business, Jeff. But anyone who lasts in this industry lasts because they're willing to do the mundane tasks that are required every day. And even I think yesterday or the day before, I saw Stuman post something about, you know, he's got a friend that's a billionaire, and the billionaire is like, you want to become a billionaire, get good at doing the boring shit, because that's what gets you there. You know, and anyone can, I don't want to say anyone, but most people can do well for a short amount of time, but the sustainability of it is like you just said, is where the real struggle is. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about your fitness business. Let our listeners know kind of what kind of structure you have. Are you in person, online? Do you do a little bit of both? And how you kind of came about of opening the gym and operating in that space.
Okay. So in 2008, we moved down to Houston from Illinois. I was then telecommuting, doing IT work. And so that was my first real experience with CrossFit, right? No, well, I'd been doing CrossFit on my own since 2004 because they introduced it in our units about 2004. And so I kind of found it there, did it by myself for 4 years because we know I like to work out by myself. And so in 2008, we moved to Houston. My wife was doing her PhD at Rice, and I was like legitimately never leaving the house because we didn't have a circle of friends or anything, or a community down here. So I was doing my telecommuting work and then didn't really have a place to go. So what I did was I looked up a gym, found a CrossFit gym that had a noon class, and I started going to it, right? Fast forward a couple months after that, the guy wants me to start coaching there, right? So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Like, fitness was my life, so it wasn't really like a huge stretch. I was always in shape. I always had great coaches and trainers from football to the military. Like, I was always around kinesiology, exercise science, and stuff like that. So it wasn't foreign to me at all. It was a natural kind of step. And so I started coaching. I was like, oh, more community, more stuff to do outside the house. Great. So I coached for a couple years for a gym. And then in 2010, we started talking about what we were going to do. Anyway, long story short, my wife and I are like, let's open our own gym. Okay. We're going to have a CrossFit gym. We do that in 2011 through 2018. We operated as CrossFit gym, but we always kind of did things a little bit differently. Like, we didn't run it like a traditional CrossFit gym per se, because I was more concerned with like ensuring everybody was healthy. We didn't do like cycling barbell stuff frequently. We didn't do rebounding box jumps, stuff like that was known for getting people hurt. And so now we rebranded in 2018 to Canon Fitness and Performance. We run group classes and a lot of personal training and nutrition stuff. And what we run now is more of with regards to our groups, is more of what we kind of refer to as functional bodybuilding classes. And so you're going to get your heart rate up, but we're really concerned with like body composition and things like that. So we do hypertrophy work. We do curls and things like that you don't conventionally see in kind of more of a CrossFit setting. So that's where we're at now.
Ain't nothing wrong with doing some curls, man.
Right?
It sounds, I mean, it sounds, and I've seen pictures of your gym, but it sounds very similar to my methodology as well of what we do, where, you know, it's my own system of, you know, I've been coaching for 19 years. So, you know, you just kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work. And that we kind of need a little bit of everything all the time to be well-rounded individuals. And we definitely do some curls for sure. No doubt about it. So what are your plans for the business? Do you have plans for expansion? Are you good with it right now? You're just going to get wealthy doing real estate and keep the gym running?
No, I'm actually, we just brought in a new general manager. And so one thing that we do that's kind of a little different than most places is we really focus on having full-time staff. And so everybody that we've got on staff right now is full time. We're looking for 2 more resources. But no, I mean, I want to grow the gym. I think this is going to be a big year for health and fitness. Once everything gets opened back up, and we're pretty well open back up down here. But I think that if the last year has done anything, it's highlight the importance of like you personally being responsible for your level of health and fitness. And so I think it's shined a light on people's bad habits, and like everybody needs to get back in shape. I also think like everybody's had real shitty years as far as mental health goes, just because there's been a lot of different messages circulating around, right? I think everybody's kind of tired and exhausted from that stuff, and so they're looking for outlets. And I truly am bullish about 2021 with regards to the fitness industry. I think people are going to come storming back into the gyms, whether it's in a private training setting or even some of the group classes, because they're not as crowded as you would typically have in your gym.
Yeah. And, if you're a fit pro, I hope you're listening to that, because I absolutely agree with that sentiment that this is the time to capitalize on this. And those of us who have your systems in place, who have your processes in place, who have your offerings down, and you're good at what you do, you can absolutely fucking thrive right now. And if you don't have that stuff, then what the hell are you waiting for? Like, I mean, it is the time to take advantage of this. And, the messaging that we hear through social media, there's definitely not enough people talking about the importance of actually taking care of yourself instead of hiding and doing things. I won't go on a soapbox right now, but we'll be here another 20 minutes on my soapbox. But, we all know the importance of health and fitness and how it plays into our long-term health, our mental health, our immune system, and all those things. So, again, if any of you listening to this need help, reach out to any of us. Jeff will talk to you. John and I will talk to you. There's no reason to not be helping people right now, because people are craving it. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm sure you're seeing the same thing, Jeff. Like, as now, again, we're in Texas, which smells like freedom all the time. But, as things, quote unquote, legally open back up again, people are just more willing to get out, but they're still concerned about the safety aspect of it. So when you run a training style facility or boutique gym where you have control over everyone who comes in, like, people want that because they feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's what I'd like to ask. And by the way, I think this is the most quiet I've ever been on any episode, because I'm just enjoying your story. But what you just shared about bringing in that general manager, like, what I would like for you to share, Jeff, is what was the process that you've gone through, not just from a systems perspective, but the mindset to go from like, it's just you and Kirsten with this gym to now you're like, hey, I've got a full staff and I've got a general manager running the business for me. We obviously know there's some new levels and new devils that go through that process. So I'd love for you to share with the audience, for some of our other gym owners that follow this, like, how did you evolve to the point to where you're not actually working in your business all day servicing all the clients?
Yeah, it has been a 9.5-year trial and error kind of exercise. But I think some of it was my business principles I brought in, having come from a corporate background. Like, I had business experience. We had also been in real estate before, so I had and we owned an apartment complex that we bought in 2006. I had run contractors through there, employees through there. But this was a different animal. This was a service-based business where you're interacting with the clients every day. One of the things that I've always done and been passionate about is paying for speed and information. So I sought out mentors early on. Some of it was helpful, some of it wasn't. I'd been through tons of mentors. I do consulting right now for Two Brain Business, which is a fitness business consulting business. But Chris Cooper is the founder of that. And so from about 2011 to 2016, before I found him, I kind of hodgepodged it together. But I had always had the vision in mind to insulate myself from the business. I was always trying to backfill with other people and make them the icons of the gym so that it wasn't on me. Because we started having kids in the first year we opened the business. We had our first baby in 2012 and we opened the gym in 2011. So at that point I was still grinding away. Like I went to the hospital when our first baby was born, and I left my wife in the hospital 45 minutes after the baby was born and went and coached the 6 a.m. class. Like, so like, and I think I missed one class because of the birth of the baby and transporting and all that stuff. I think somebody substituted for like a noon class. And besides that, I coached the whole time. So owning your business is not for the faint of heart, especially early on. You're gonna get your ass kicked and you have to give up a lot of things. That said, 2016, I really started to kind of dial it in a little bit, and it's gotten better and better. And like, ever since then, you just kind of have to backfill. We've made some bad hires. I put the wrong people in the general manager position in the past, and it's kind of caused turbulence. And then you've got to come back in and you've got to clean stuff up. It's just been, I wanted professional coaches for one thing, because I saw everybody else struggling with the issues that come along with like part-timers and things like that. If you can't get reliable resources to work for you and have dedicated resources, you're always going to struggle.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, man. My core belief has been part-time people make full-time headaches every single time. So anyone I brought on was like with the intention of full-time, but it was my obligation to get them full-time, but they had to fulfill their side of here's the other part of the relationship. So it's funny you said.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And so now I'm fortunate enough to like have ascended to the point where, like I said, I'm doing consulting. I run a mastermind group for Two Brain that we created about 2 years ago. And it's the upper echelon of that community. It's the top 5-10% of gym owners in there. So I'm fortunate enough to be surrounded by those guys leading that group that are kind of at the cutting edge of what's going on. These are high revenue gyms that are doing the right things and making moves in the fitness space. So it keeps me very acutely aware of like who's doing what's going on in the high end boutique fitness space. So that has been kind of a cheat sheet for me.
Right.
So, amen to that.
So if I recapped it, what I pulled was get mentors, speed and information, build it with the end in mind, which is highlighting your team members. Yep. And then get really tight on the hiring process and who you're looking for to put the right person on the right seat on the bus.
Yep. Yeah.
I love it. You got anything to add, Mark?
Well, here's what I want to ask is, so knowing that you work with high level of, fitness people, what advice would you have to people getting in the industry right now, or kind of in that middle range where they either need a breakthrough or they're going to be broken? You know what I mean?
Getting into the business, I think Jonathan kind of touched on that. You have to design your business with the end in mind. And that doesn't mean that you need to know exactly the destination that you're going to, but you do have to kind of structure your business to serve your life that you want to have. Because I mean, let's be honest, in the first couple of years, you're not going to have the life you want to have. And that's just what it is. I mean, none of us want that life for a long time, but that's just that's the price you have to pay. And then the people holding on to things that are moderately successful, I would tell them that they don't understand the breakthroughs that they're going to make when they start letting go and beginning to delegate, beginning to bring on people that can serve your clients at a higher level. Because we all struggle at some point in our career thinking that everybody needs service by me. like I am the subject matter expert in X, Y, and Z. But like what I tell my people is like, your job is to grow them to, and this is your staff, grow them until they can do things 60% as well as you, and then put them in that role as soon as they hit 60%. And then your job is to grow into the fucking leader that can train them to do things 80% as well as you used to. Because then you've got an entire team behind you doing things at 80% of your capacity. Because what you also don't understand is that you're really not serving anybody at a high level when you're strung across 50 different hats that you're wearing. You're really only operating at like 50% in everything. Like, I mean, we can operate at high levels being entrepreneurs and kind of juggle things and multitask and things like that. But once you really start peeling that shit back and giving it away, it's amazing at the trajectory that your business can take with the right people doing things 100% focused on that role. Like you talk about marketing, you talk about sales, you talk about operations and the different aspects of your business, that you can't pay attention to all of those at that level. But if you find the right person who's passionate about it, your business can take off if you can fill all of those kind of verticals within your business.
Hope y'all are taking notes.
Yeah, that's straight gold right there. And that's something I could tell that took years to learn. That's not something they just teach you. Like, here's your business and your LLC. Like, here's what you do. That's part of paying the price and being in the damn trenches.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. All right. So as we start to wrap this up, I do need to ask, because I said I'd mention it before, but so you got 4 kids. So usually, like, to me, anything past 2 is like, all right, we've made a conscious decision, unless you're like our friend Thomas, who, you know, had twins the second time, you know. Like, did you always want a big family? Did your wife want a big family? Like, how is that decision made? I'm honestly just curious.
Or are you Catholic?
I was raised Catholic. I think that my ironically, people ask us this all the time because my wife is an only child. So we don't come from big families. I have a sister, but she's 8 years older than me. So she was like so much older than me. She was kind of out of the house. I was kind of raised as an only child from that extent. I think I'm just really passionate about being a father. Like, that was always like very purposeful for me, because like my dad left very early on, when I was like 7 years old, and I've never spoke to him again. And so, like, I think that was truly impactful on my life. And so when given the opportunity to be a father, I think I always said that, like, I also think that it's one of your greatest impacts you can have on the world. Not to get to, like, I don't know, emotional or whatever, right? But like, I really do. And I think you're shaping human beings. And so, like, I kind of wanted to be everything that I didn't have growing up, I guess. And so the only thing really stopping us was like our time and capacity that we had. And then also, like, I wasn't going to bring people in if like we financially couldn't afford it or things like that. When I say bring people in, I'm like I hired all these little kids, like, oh, we'll bring another one on. No. So no, our kids are 8, 6, 4, and 2. So,
oh, very nice, evenly spaced. I like that.
Yeah, we knew that once we were like in the trenches, once you're in it, we were like not going to waste any time, because we weren't going to spread our kids out like a long distance and be 15 years into having children and still have like a newborn. So
I love how you systemize the child rearing process. You're like, onboarding process is between 0 and 2. Okay, you're at 60% capacity. Let's bring
That's exactly right. Exactly right, man.
Fantastic. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, you know, and I have 2 sons, so I feel you on the dad thing. Like, you know, I can do all the things in the business world and change lives and all that, but damn, I love being a dad. And there's just a joy that comes with being a parent that you just can't describe it to anybody until they experience it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So a couple more questions for you here. What is the most influential book that you have ever read?
Man, ever. I'm a book guy, so I've read so many. I would say Jordan Peterson's original 12 Rules for Life.
Hmm.
That's a good one.
That's one of my go-tos for sure.
I'm actually in the process of reading that right now. And it's one that like, it just makes you stop and go, huh? And like question your existence. And then you read a couple more pages and you do the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. 100. Yeah. It's like jaw-dropping moments every couple pages. And you're like, wait a minute, I need to stop what I'm doing and digest that for a half hour. Like it's a powerful book. So yeah, I would definitely say that.
Highly recommend that one. If you guys haven't read that one, pick that up. What's your favorite exercise?
Rucking.
Yeah, good for you. That's why you were in the Army. You're like, heavy shit, I'll carry it around.
Yeah, I see all your posts on social, man. You're doing it all the time. You're like, yep, just 40 pounds.
Yeah.
If you had a billboard that you could put a message on for everyone to see, what would that message be?
Ooh. Man, that's a tough one. I don't know. You are the only one responsible for the results you're getting.
That's good.
I don't know.
Dude, work.
Yeah. Shorten it up. There you go. My copywriter. What you're saying here.
I'm like, this basically saying, do damn work.
Nobody's gonna do it for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm personal responsibility, but like also like you have limitless potential. Like you can be whoever you want to be, regardless of what yesterday was. Like just start today.
I love it. Well, Jeff, this has been such a pleasure. We really, really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and wisdom. You guys, if you're listening to this, a lot of great tactical advice and, from somebody who's been doing this a while. And that's, I love talking to guys like you because, you have the experience that so few have. I mean, if you look around in the world, there's not that many people that have been doing anything for a really long time. And there's just lessons that you learn from experience that it's the only way you're going to learn them. So, we really, really do appreciate you coming on here. So tell the people where they can follow you, where they can find out more about your gym, all that good stuff.
Probably the best place is just follow me on Instagram, and it's just Jeff_Smith_HTX, like Houston, Texas. And that's the easiest place to find me. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook, and then Canon Fitness and Performance is our gym. It's on Facebook as well. But Instagram kind of feeds every other area of my social. And we didn't even get into real estate or anything good. But I mean, like that just goes to tell you that, like, I mean, business ultimately is just a battle of attrition. And so like it's all about staying alive. Like because if you come out on the other end, it doesn't matter what business you're doing. If you do it for 30 years, like you're going to end up well off and reap the benefits for what you're doing. Because as long as you learn lessons, because I mean, hopefully, Jesus, you wouldn't be doing the same thing 30 years from now.
Right.
I know I remember some lunch ladies that I'm pretty sure they were doing that for 30 years, but they were real good at serving that chicken fried steak and mashed potatoes.
Lunch lady land.
But I mean, your point it's been also highlighted by this whole COVID fiasco of like, I mean, we've lost a ton of gyms in Houston throughout it. So, I mean, it's all about staying alive and learning lessons. Like just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, man. COVID was Darwinianism. Is that Darwinism? I don't know. I always say it wrong. My wife always points out how I'm not as smart as her, but you guys know what I'm talking about. All survived, and that was COVID throughout this, man. So it's only bringing out the best to the top of their game, and it's leveled the playing field. So
yeah,
game on, let's get it.
I love it. So again, Jeff, thank you so much, guys. If you're listening, follow Jeff on the don't just look up Jeff Smith. I bet there's a few.
Yeah.
So make sure you get the whole handle. We'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
And again, go subscribe, go leave us a review, and let us know what you think. And John, what you got, buddy?
Be like Jeff Smith and go get what you're worth. Yeah. Damn good show. Damn good.